Welcome back from that package. Yes, it's time now for our discussion in the studio, and our guest is already here. Is a lecturer from Ademi Federal University of Education from the Department of Social Studies. Is Mr. Rufus Olatunji. It's so nice to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you very much, madam.
Now we're talking on Corruption Perception Index, complexity of government, academic and administrative sectors in Nigeria. Now, Nigeria's endemic corruption is said to be the greatest challenge that the country has, and despite anti-graft work from the federal government, questions have been asked if it is possible that the federal government is actually making headway in terms of fighting corruption. The reason why we want to discuss this topic this morning. So it is always good to start from the top. Corruption in Nigeria is said to be the greatest challenge that the country has to its stability as a nation. I want to find out if you agree with this.
Thank you very much. Once again, let me thank you for inviting me for this program. The issue of corruption in Nigeria is a big issue that needs serious attention. From your statement, the issue of perception index, that is Corruption Perception Index, is actually a brainchild of Transparency International, and their mission is actually to promote transparency, accountability, and integrity in the financial system of every country in the world. This organization have done a lot of work, advocacy work, to make sure that corruption is reduced to the BRS minimum in every country. Most of the time, we hear their statistical forecast about the level of corruption in Nigeria, and unfortunately, our government do not really always like the statistics about the level of corruption in Nigeria. But as it applies to every other countries in the world, in Transparency International have been trying to let us know the level at which corruption is being perpetuated in Nigeria. And let me start statistically. Last year, 2023, Nigeria was ranked 145th out of
154.
145th.
Okay.
Out of 180 countries in the world. That is the latest statistics.
Okay.
And you know, between 2022, 150, 2021, 154, but we are now 145 in the world. That is, if you look at the grading is from 0 to 100. Those countries that are able to score high mark, it shows that they are faring well when it comes to corruption. And Nigeria scored 25 over 100, because the grading is between 0 and 100. Actually, there's no country that scored 100, because no country that is absolutely free of corruption. So Nigeria scored 25, and that is to tell you that Nigeria is a failure when it comes to fighting corruption. So we have different anti-graft agencies like EFCC, like ICPC, but yet we are not feeling the impact, because coming down to our own country, we have a statistical organization that do forecast for us how we are faring in different sectors of the country. That is National Bureau of Statistics. To the amazement of the educated Nigerians, since 2015, that is June 2015 to May 2016, they have not said anything about corruption in Nigeria. That is a national conspiracy against the people, because ordinarily we are supposed to know maybe we're actually faring well or not. But they have not told us anything. The last data they gave to us shows that we are not doing well in terms of sector analysis of how corruption is being perpetrated in Nigeria. And from that analysis, we discovered that about, sector by sector, Nigerian police happen to be the highest, public officials that perpetrate serious corrupt practices in Nigeria, using bribery as a single factor now. I mean, type of corruption, because when we talk about corruption, we have different, types. So bribery, which is a predominant factor in corruption types in Nigeria, police happens to be the highest. And in that statistics, I'm talking of our own now that is domiciled, because there's kind of prejudice concerning Transparency International, because it's not domiciled in Nigeria and it's being controlled by the West, and because of that, some people doesn't believe in the statistics. Even though, if the statistics favors Nigeria, they use it, to praise themselves, those that are in government. But by the time it is not, favoring them, they discard it, that it is not accepted. Now, our own statistic organization, which is National Bureau of Statistics, is telling us that, look, sectorally, for every 52% of adults that has contact with government officials in Nigeria, 32% of them engaged in bribery. You can see that level, which means almost everybody that, when you look at 32 over 52, the rate is quite high. So which means you go to any office to get any document, you drive your car on the road, you want to pay tax, as much as you have contact with any government officials, it shows that you must bribe in one way or the other. If you do not do that, they will request from it. So that is the level at which corruption is being perpetrated in Nigeria.
We can't, as people, talk about corruption. We're not talking about government policies or government actions or inactions that contributed to this factor. So how have our government policies and actions, contributed to the perpetration of corruption in this nation?
Thank you very much. You see, in Nigeria, we are at best in policy formulation. Policy formulations.
Okay. On paper?
On paper, we are at best. If you see most of our documents, they are well articulated.
What about in execution?
Execution is zero. Execution is zero. And that is why people have been able to discover this loophole, and they are utilizing it effectively to perpetrate all manner of corruption in Nigeria. Because you have the EFCC of this world, you have the ICPC of this world, you have the Code of Conduct of this world. One of the important, rules or regulations of Code of Conduct is that public officials should declare their assets when they want to either get into political or public office. But how many have you had? At a time, they said that it is not compulsory, it must be declared publicly. So what is the essence of declaring when it cannot be made public? So when you look at the roles of policy, actually it's not working. It's not working. Even though if another country is opportune to have the type of document we have, policy documents that we have, and they put into practice, their environment will be better than ours. It's not that we don't lack the policy formulation, we don't lack, the necessary ingredients that make up the policy, but the implementation is actually where we fail as a country.
Now, talking about implementation and talking about policies, in my intro, I just say that government has provided anti-graft agencies to help counter corruption in the country. But a question that has been asked by not just citizens, but the international community is the fact that, is it working? Do they have the ability, or has it been shown that government has the ability to tackle corruption despite all these agencies that have been provided to do so? Is the question being asked. And I want you to, because we started on a very good note by talking about statistics and percentages. In your opinion, statistically, how do you think that this has worked out?
You see, let me just say this. It's like you ask a known thief to help you catch another thief. It will take the grace of God for two of them not to collaborate, to even fight you back. And that is where you hear corruption fighting back here and there. Is it that we don't have the instrumentation through the anti-corruption agencies? We have it. We have what it takes. But everything in Nigeria has been politicized, including these anti-graft agencies. You see, he who plays the pipers dictates the tones. So you don't expect me to appoint somebody to run an organization, and knowing fully that I am interested in also doing one or two things, and then people are also watching me as a leader, and you ask such people to go after people that you probably supposed to have been a corrupt person. So there is no way they can work. There's no way they can be effective. There's no way they can cause any reasonable reduction in the level of corruption in the country, because everything, most of the time, perceived political opponents, perceived business partners that want to outsmart, those that are in government, they are the one that the anti-graft agencies are actually running after. Every day we read in the news. Let's take our leaders, the governors. We read in the news how they, bastardize the economy of their states by taking all the resources for their own personal use. And up to now, we have not been seeing anyone, being jailed, unlike other countries. And you see, all the countries, they are watching us. They are watching us. You have countries whereby even for you to commit little error, they will resign voluntarily, not to talk of using any agency to pursue them. The level of patriotism. But here, even when they have stolen money, yet they will still be boasting after they have left the office. So these are the reasons why it is not actually going to be effective using any, if you like, set up another military organization to look after the corrupt officials. It won't work.
Just Ezekiel, just as a follow-up to what he said, ironically, my next question was supposed to be the anti-graft, the accusation or that anti-graft agencies in Nigeria go after ordinary citizens rather than political or highly placed members of the political class, was the question I wanted to ask, that if you actually agree to that analysis, and that is exactly what you have rightly said. It is unfortunate that not just Nigerians perceive or allege same. It is something that is common or commonly discussed about outside the shores of the nation. What do you, or how do you see this play out, as a reflection of the kind or type of government we have in the country? Again, the question is, government providing anti-graft agencies to fight corruption, and are they doing that?
You see, I don't, it's what we witness every day. It's what we witness every day, in the sense that, look, somebody stole a handset, and the person is caught, sued to the court, within a week or two, is in the jail. And somebody stole billions. And you begin to hear, up to now, a former governor is still, is still not being found within the country for almost a month or two now, having stolen billions of naira from his states, and is in the news. The international organization, the world is a global village, They are watching everything. How do you justify that? Somebody stole a hen, and the next day is in the jail. But somebody stole billions. Now, when I was growing up, we used to hear of stealing thousands of naira, millions of naira. It has gone beyond that now. It has gone to the level of millions of dollars, even to the extent of billions of dollars. So, and you want international organizations to recognize you as fighting corruption? It is not possible. Even though they are not saints, but the level at which it's being perpetrated as a country is beyond description. And that is why, see, all these agencies we're talking about, there's no way, they are already incapacitated, there's no way they can function effectively.
Anyway, away from agency or anti-graft agents, what about academic institutions? What role has academic institutions play in promoting critical thinking and accountability, or maybe they have been complicit in perpetuating the status quo too?
You see, no sector of Nigeria is exempted or exonerated from the act of corruption. Luckily, I am from the academics, and you see a lot of things that are being done, and you wonder how we are still surviving as a nation. You see, now let me start from the government to the academics. Okay. You see, if you look at, let me just pick an item, recruitment. Recruitment, either as staff or as administrative leaders. You see, the way things stand now, you hardly have the best brains in our universities.
How do you mean we hardly have the best brains?
What do I mean is this. That's what we call political patronage. People that are actually very close, people that are loyal, people that dance to the tones of the politicians. Majority of them, they are the one that has the clue when it comes to recruitment. You see people who are first class, who are second class, or who are doing well, who have the academic capacity to deliver. They will never be considered when it comes to recruitment, but somebody who will not even apply for anything, but because he's very close to a politician, you just see them all the way from Abuja, they just appear as a lecturer or as administrative staff. Now, people that has no intellectual capacity to deliver, and they are being recruited, what do you expect from the output that such people will produce in the university? And that is why you have our education in shambles. What of, let me just touch an area called governing council. You see, let me say 80% of members of governing council in universities, colleges, and polytechnics, they are made up of politicians. To reward them for their political loyalty, to reward them for, standing with the party in power. And those people, they are the ones to make decisions, critical decisions for the development of the institutions. How do you expect such an environment to function well? Some of them, sorry to say, have not even been to 4 corners of schools. Those that have been to it, probably in one way or the other, they do not have the quality, what it takes. So when you talk of government meddling with academics, institutions, you can see that it flows all the way from the top. And when it gets to the institution, you see all the loopholes we're having. I was reading something this morning, somebody was saying that, look, we have professors without inventions. How does that speak to us? Imagine, is it that we don't have the best brain? No. But the conducive environment is not there. What it takes for a professor to actually display, their intellectual capacity is not there. Ours is just to, manage the little we have as materials, as resources to teach the students. And at the end of the day, we produce students that are not competent to. You have engineers that cannot construct, civil engineers that cannot construct buildings for 5-10 years. it will collapse.
And all these could be responsible for because of the level of lecturers we have.
Yes, to some extent. To some extent, the level of the lecturers we have and the shortage of materials, equipment, and all it takes for the lecturers to even deliver in the class.
That's the next question I wanted to ask on the investment and of course its effect on corruption in the academic setting, and that's exactly what you're saying now. Yeah. Research has shown that on the investment breeds the ground for corruption.
Sure.
In such a way that outsiders catch in and come into the educational sector and wave the picture of perfection, and when parents rush in with their children again, corruption rears its head, because the bribery that you talked about in Nigeria, or in most cases, you can't talk about corruption without give me, I take, or give me, I give you, which is usually bribery. I want you to let us understand how on the funding or on the investment has led to corruption in the academic setting.
Thank you very much. This is a very critical area. You see, a hungry man is an angry man. Somebody who has, how do I call it now, low financial capability. Remember, before you get to the classroom, you are from the home. And when the home is not settled, psychologically, you won't be balanced in the class. And all this boils down to, one, the take home of the teachers or the lecturers. Nigeria is one of the poorest paid, Nigerian lecturers are one of the poorest paid lecturers in the world. That's why you see ASU shouting here and there all the time about. Unfortunately, the citizens will not know what the lecturers are passing through. As I speak, in a semester, I don't mark less than 1,500 students' scripts. And you got to see the office I use. Then you wonder, how do I cope? You got to know the number of students I supervised at their graduation, tail end of their graduation. By the time they're writing their projects, you got to know the number of students I supervise. Then you have to now let me know what is government offering to encourage me to do this work. You got to know the classroom environment where we teach. Especially those are in sciences. You got to know that where are the chemicals to be used for experiments. All these are there. Now, we have to survive. For me to write a paper as a person, I will spend nothing less than about 50,000 naira. And I have to write as much as 3 in a year, apart from going to other conferences and seminars. Now you have to ask me, how much am I earning? And I am to feed my family from this. I am to also make sure that I am up to date in my field of study. And if you are not to compare me with my own, level with another, lecturer in another country, then you begin to wonder that how am I surviving? Sometimes it will get to a level in the academy, you have to go outside the country to go and, do a kind of refreshing course in order for you to be updated, to know what is going on all over the world. And everything boils down on what we earn as salary. So some people will now look at it where you have to use what you have to get what you want. And that is why you see perpetrating sex for mark, money for grades here and there. You see lecturers extorting students, administrative staff extorting students here and there. Now, all this boils down to the poor investment in education. if you look at our national budget, education is one of the least funded sector of the economy. And you can see the effect all over the places in the society. When a nation does not take care of education, I bet it with you, every other thing will never work. Because it is a mind that you train that will actually grow up to become a better citizen. But a mind that you do not train properly, you can be sure that they will constitute nuisance at the end of the day.
With all these factors you mentioned, I wonder how have administrative officials enabled, or should I say, turned a blind eye to this corruption so far?
Turning blind eyes?
Yes. How have they really managed to do that, and what has been the effect so far over time?
Well, they have to turn blind eyes because, you know, corruption has permeated the life of almost everybody. You know, in the olden days, I mean, in recent times, they used to say everybody is corrupt in Nigeria, everybody is corrupt. I used to say, no, everybody is not corrupt. But honestly, if you look at what goes on in Nigeria, you know that almost everybody is corrupt. And when you are incapacitated, for example, maybe 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20 is determined that I'm not going, no matter what, I'm not going to be involved in this. If you do not cooperate with an office where you belong, where such a thing is being done, you can be sure that it's either you are permanently, you know, stagnated, or you are not allowed even to be relevant in any other thing in that place of work. So the best thing is for you to just keep mute.
Or
the
you
best
join
thing,
them.
or you join them. So it's as bad as that even those that are standing, it's either they do not, you know, do anything about how to correct the errors, or outrightly they join them. And that is the situation. So there's no way the administrative, you know, people will not also turn blind eyes, because almost everybody is doing it. So they have just to keep quiet.
Okay. Now we're still talking about corruption in academic. You rightly enumerated or explained what underfunding does. What I want you to now tell us is how embezzlement and diversion of the funds made available. Fine, we don't have much given to education by the government. The one that is allocated, how has embezzlement and diversion affected that sector?
They are all of the same, you know, bed of same feathers. You see, diversion, embezzlement. When a fund is released, I give an example of a recent fund released in a particular institution. That fund was meant to develop the staff, those that want to go for their higher degrees, and those that want to go for better, you know, to upgrade their knowledge. And the union of the school, in their own wisdom, they said, okay, instead of developing you, the fund was actually meant to develop the staff, but they said we are going to buy computer for every staff. And of course, buying computer for staff is also part of development. But at the end of the day, number one, the money has been diverted from the original, you know. Then the one that they have not devised, to the amazement of other members of the staff, only about maybe 2 or 3% of the staff were able to have access to the computer. The rest were looking. So you can imagine, I'm just giving that as an hypothetical case. Now you can imagine money meant to construct buildings, lecture theaters, classrooms, offices for staff, and you see it being diverted for another purpose. Funds that are meant to be used to, no matter how small it is, to be used to procure, you know, equipment for libraries and laboratories, you see it being diverted to another thing. So you can judge from that definitely the little fund that comes to the schools that's supposed to be used for better, you know, for the development of the school, the school will remain underdeveloped. So this is when you are talking of embezzlement and diversion of funds, it even starts from where the fund is coming from. Immediately, money is released for a particular purpose. Remember, the office where the money is being released, they must have their percentage. The table of the administrative staff that will sign the documents, the bureaucratic processes that it will take, they must have their share before it actually gets to the institution where the money is going. And when it gets to the institution where the money is going, the chief executive or the institutions who is privy to how the money, some percentages were shared in the office before the money got to, they also will not just do that in vain. They also want to have their own share. And before the money eventually will now be used for whatever is made to be used for. And then tell me, if a structure is to be built with a particular quality of materials, tell me, will that quality be maintained? Because major fractions of the money is already gone.
That question we will answer when we return from our break.
Welcome back. That was another segment of Daybreak Africa, talking about the business segment. And we are still on the major topic for today, talking about corruption index here in Nigeria. And we have Dr. Rufus Olatunji in the house speaking with us on this topic. And I think one at this point, you made a very fascinating point. You spoke about greed, manipulation, plagiarism, and all this being one of these factors, really punching and hitting hard on the academic institution. I think to wonder how much has this factor tend to undermine the quality of our education institution here in Nigeria?
Grade, buying of grades, plagiarism, they have all contributed to undermining the quality of education in Nigeria. You see a student that is not an academic materials, the pressure from parents, the pressure from friends, on the lecturer or on the administrative staff, those that admit students, going to the extent of changing the scores of probably JAMB score now on the internet, going to the extent of forging certificates in order by fire by force for such a child to get admission. So by the time such a child is admitted, what exactly do you think such a child will become? How do you think he or she will perform? Many of them, my little experience about those students that comes to our department, at the time I was a screening officer, and you see WAEC results, excellent results, A1 mathematics, A1 English, A1 government. So got to a point, I interviewed one. Hello, you got A1 in mathematics? Say yes. You got A1 in English? Say yes. Okay. I said, can you please help me write just a short letter? Someone who scored A1 in English, can you please help me write a short letter about your experience in the process of getting admission to ADM? He laughed. He said, Ogar, letter. To my amazement, he couldn't write anything. These are the products that we have in our institution. Not only that, on the side of the lecturers, you see lecturers that are supposed to be critical thinkers, that are supposed to be, intellectually savvy. But you see what we call copying and paste. Copy one work here, you paste it, copy another one, you paste it. Then at the end of the day, originality of publication is zero. So when you don't even have, because the beauty of publication is when you are able to think critically and you put your pen down, it is expected that a problem you identified in society, that your paper should solve it. But again, even those that are putting all their effort to write papers without being plagiarizing them, their papers gather dust on the shelf. Government is not making use of it. Industries are not requesting for anything from universities. We are only writing and piling them up. All these papers that we're writing, they were supposed to be solutions to problems. They were supposed to be, what I call the pathway to development. But government will never look at that side. Neither will the captains of industry also look, because there's supposed to be partnership between the public universities or university as a whole and the industries, because we're supposed to be developing the industries through the knowledge that we produce in the universities. But it's not like that. So when you look at all this, you can see the reason why we refuse to develop. You can see the reason why our education continues to merry-go-round at a point. We are not going forward. We are not, maybe we're even going backward, nobody knows. We are just, going around on a point. So you can see that embezzlement, plagiarism, search for grade, money for grade, they are all being perpetuated by lecturers and the allied people, the parents, the administrative staff, and the students themselves. They are all complicit in it. Even government is not helping matter, because ordinarily when you see people doing something that is against the policy, is against the system, that's one of the reasons why I give kudos to the executive secretary of JAMB, I think Professor Oloyede now. You will discover that the man tried to revolutionize JAMB by making sure that even if you will perpetrate any form of malpractice, you will think twice, because the technology is there to catch you if you actually do that. At the time, you had a story of a lady that manipulated a result to be the best JAMB candidate in Anambra State. But immediately they went into their system and they discovered that, that result was a forged one. But if not because of the introduction of technology and the willingness to actually effect changes in the organization, probably those that have been having the highest score in the past, that is how they have been doing it. So you can see now that when it comes to education, the quality of education in Nigeria, I see lecturers are not the only complicit in terms of lowering the standard, but even the parents. And
naturally, in the blame game here in Nigeria, we tend to blame the government for any misfortune that tends to, plague just anybody. But in your case, it's more like you believe strongly the students, the parents, lecturers, the government, everybody has a role, to play in this corruption
Everybody
game.
is involved.
But nonetheless, let's talk about responsibility. What responsibility do government and administrative officials say have or bear for the decay of infrastructure, especially in the public institutions?
Infrastructure?
Yes, generally.
You see, I don't know the structural arrangement of government from the budgetary allocation for projects, for infrastructure here and there. If you budget for something and you go further to make funds available for it, please, why should you not follow up what you made fund available for? You say, okay, construct 2 blocks of classroom in so-so institution. You release the money. But after releasing the money, you remove your eyes. Then people in charge of the money, they use the money the way they like. So when you look at the problems of infrastructure, you will discover that government has the largest blame, because they are the one that make funds available. And before the funds are made available, the fund has a purpose. Why is the purpose not achieved? The government is supposed to have a mechanism of monitoring whatever project, whatever equipment, whatever resources that are supposed to be put in place. But by the time the fund is made available and nobody is monitoring anything, then you can be sure that nothing will work. And so, not even the administrative staff, neither the lecturers that has stake in this, because everything is from the source, which is government, and they are the one that's supposed to set the machinery in place to make sure that what we budgeted for and the fund is released for, the purpose is achieved.
So in essence, you mean our government has no monitoring system, and without a monitoring system, there can't be a control system.
Yeah, that should be a control mechanism.
Therefore, no feedback mechanism in the process. So it's more like we just make a budget and then dish out the money and all this settled.
Yeah.
Wow, it must be really terrible.
Now, let's take a look at the administrative sector, because you did touch that sector a little bit when we're talking about the academic sector, when you talked about funding for education, the fact that the files need to move from table to table and every table must be greased.
Yes. Yeah.
Every table must be greased to get the answers done. Yeah. And I'm asking, is this just a particular office, particular state? Is it something that started yesterday, something that is on today, or it has been part of our history for as long as anyone can remember?
Well, I do not know much history. I do not know much about the history of corruption in Nigeria, even though I've written papers. Not that I do not know about it to some extent, but you see, the rate at which it's increasing is alarming. In the olden days, you don't have sex for grade in universities. You don't have even examination malpractice. It was at a very, very low level.
Is it more like we don't have, or is not as pronounced as it
That's
is
what you
now?
just said.
That's what I've just said.
At a very low level.
At a very low level.
No, sex for grade, you said we don't have.
As much as we have now.
All right.
Now, from one table to the other, you can verify it anywhere. If any fund is released and the table is not greased,
the file gets missing,
it will get missed. They will put what is called bureaucratic bottlenecks on the way. You will never get it until you grease the table. And it's as bad as that. And so it has become, now you see, every society has their culture. To the best of my knowledge, our values, our norms, our culture does not accommodate corruption. But at a point in the history of Nigeria, during the military era, and when we talk about military era, it's not as if we don't have in the past, but during the Babangida era, down to this moment, corruption has been institutionalized. That is, if you don't, do it, nothing will work in the offices. It has become a systemic issue that it will take a strong heart, a leader that is ready to sacrifice even his or her life to be able to checkmate the level of corruption we have in the country now. Yes, when Buhari was about coming that time, I was one of those that says, yes, we have his antecedents to be a very corrupt, free person. And therefore, if he comes, he'll be able to help us to checkmate the level of corruption. And then, the slogan then, if you don't kill corruption, corruption will kill this and that. So, but when he got there, please, what was he able to achieve at the end of the day?
But a lot of people say, do believe that it was Idiagbon that actually was the proponent of, actually one in the forefront of fighting corruption
Those
when they came in as military administrators.
Yeah, those that
through a coup.
Those that are in that school of thought, they were actually proved to be right. When the man actually came as a civilian, they were proved to be right. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the statistics, when he came in between 2015 and 16, the corruption level was 154, 2015 to 16. But when you get to 2017, then it goes to 150. And it was getting worse until he left the office. Now it's 145. So you can see now that he did not have grip on his government. We're not talking about him. We're only looking at, see, the level of corruption in Nigeria is beyond individual, efforts. Because the people that surrounds them, the people that surrounds the leader, they are even more dangerous than the leader. But again, when Buhari came fresh, 2015, there's this language called body language. The first week, the second week, the third week, light was regular here and there. We're thinking, this man has come, thank God, this and that. By the time they study him, a month and 2 months after, you see, we reverted back to the old life. Because they have been able to discover that he has no clue on how to fight corruption. And those that he used as aid, they begin to, exploit the loophole from him. So that is it. In Nigeria, it will take leaders who are committed, leaders who are ready to sacrifice their own life in order to clean the mess we have. If that does not happen, it will only take God.
Now, I remember for the very first time in our history, talking from my side of the history, what I saw as a child growing up during the military administration of Babangida and Idiagbon. There was a lot of discipline in society. That was the first time.
Babangida and Buhari.
No.
Babangida,
Buhari and Idiagbon. Yes. What did I say earlier?
I think you said Babangida and Idiagbon.
No, Idiagbon and Buhari. Yes, where people will queue up at the banks, queue up to get into the bus.
Orderliness.
There was orderliness.
War against indiscipline.
War against indiscipline. You don't drop paper on the floor. There was so much indiscipline. People were scared to be corrupt. It was like there was a big cane that will whip you from behind for doing that. And those memories gives us hope, that it is possible for a leader to arise and create that change that we desire. We can't leave today without talking about vote buying, election rigging, and of course political donations by private corporations, how that has affected us as a people, and of course the corruption index, the percentage that has come out of vote buying and election rigging. I would want your opinion, as we begin to round up.
Thank you very much. I don't know, vote buying. You see, one thing that is almost constant in Nigeria now is that almost every election year, and as one government transit from one tenure to the other, we see new invention of corrupt practices. Every election year, you have new means of subverting the integrity of the election. Vote buying was very recent. The last election, we know that it went beyond vote buy. Even it's migrated to electronic manipulation of results and manual manipulation of the result. So almost every election year, you have new method of subverting the integrity of the election. And this is to tell us that we have a long way to go. You want to choose a good leader, and you are collecting money from them just because you are hungry and you don't know that You don't know what you are going to gain from the government. Whatever you get now is what you get for the next 4 years. Let them be doing their own, and the one I eat now is the one that I'm able to get from the government. Then we are not ready as a people to move. We are not ready to have quality leaders. We are not ready to make the society change for better until we come to our senses. And I think with the situation of things in the town now, I think people are beginning to think. I only think that until election comes again, I think people are beginning to think that, look, choosing a leader matters most in our life as a nation. If you choose a leader based on ethnic, if you choose a leader based on religion, then you are done for it at the end of the day, because whatever policy or whatever programs they put in place goes a long way to determine how your life will look like. So that is why when you talk of vote buying, it is one of the very, very dangerous dimension that our country has gotten to now, and is actually ridiculing us among the community of nations. If you look at small countries around us, they conduct elections peacefully without any life being lost. But here, common government election, you see life getting lost because of sharing money, not sharing money. This must win by all means, that must win by all means. So these are the things that has actually further dent our image as a nation. And I just pray, I know I'm from a religious background, I just pray that God will answer our prayer one day. He will give us a leader that will be so committed to sanitizing our society for better.
And amen to that. Let's talk a little about unemployment and skill mismatch in Nigeria. Just how have academic, or how should I say, how have government and academic institutions failed to, address this crisis of unemployment and skill mismatch?
Unemployment, you see, an idle hands, they say, is the devil's workshop.
So they say.
How will you expect somebody who graduates from university for good 4, 5, 6 years without job, even though, again, that our education is not tailored towards being creative. It's not tailored towards being self-dependent. Our education is tailored towards getting certificate and getting government job. And partly, I think it is better now what is happening for us.
But there are provisions for entrepreneurship. Sorry to cut you. I mean, there are entrepreneurship courses in universities and tertiary institutions. So
maybe new curriculums, because we review curriculums, at 2, 3, 4 years intervals. We review curriculums, and presently, because academics, as I said the other time, we have to be critical thinkers.
Yes.
So we discover that, look, just getting certificate, like in my own class, I've turned into preaching. If you don't get something doing and you rely on this certificate you want to get alone, don't be surprised that you'll be stranded at the end of the day. So you just have to find something doing alongside your schooling. Or immediately you finish schooling, make sure that you get something doing that can, make you to be self-employed. Because if we continue in this trend, actually, we are still shouting of Boko Haram, we are shouting of this, shouting of that. It's going to be, I just pray our situation will never get to the level of that of Somalia. You see, when you don't engage hands that have, look, statistics shows that the youth has the largest population in Nigeria. We are in the, upper level of the population in Nigeria. And therefore, these are the youth that are having nothing to do. No industries to work. Enabling environment for self-dependency is not there. Ordinarily, government is supposed to put up programs that will encourage people. If it is, just take agriculture alone. With the number of youth we have in Nigeria, we're supposed not to even be importing food for whatever reasons. Any kind of food for that matter. We have the land, we have the climate, we have the resources, we have the human capacity to do it. But yet, government is not looking to that area.
We're almost out of time. But quickly, just for going to solutions, I noticed recently we've adopted a system more like should I say, a culture of silence. You know, amidst government abuses or corruption, people just tend to keep quiet and you just believe. I mean, what's your say as to this new culture of silence?
Yeah, because see, who are the people that are supposed to talk in the first instance? Our top religious leaders, our top traditional leaders, who has the voice. Not everybody in the society has the voice. Those who have the voice, that are supposed to chastise the government, they keep quiet. And by the time they keep quiet, government is also watching.
Is it because all hope is lost, or?
It's not because all hope is lost. It's because they patronize government.
Wow.
So government is also watching that as much as this person is not talking, this person is not talking, this traditional ruler is not talking, everything is well.
So what do we do? What's the solution? What's the way forward?
The solution,
in your opinion,
yeah,
in all of this that we've said today, what do we do?
I will go in line of this man. It's called APJ Abdul Salam. He said something, and I quote. He said, "For a society to be free of corruption and, develop," he says, 3 people are to be considered as great factors of the change agent. 1, the father. 2, the mother. 3, the teacher. These 3 set of people. Why? As many as are in government, as many as are in public offices, they all grew up from the home. And when they grow up from the home, train about the norms, train about the values of the society, honesty, hard work, patriotism, being taught at home, then getting to school, they are further being refined by the teacher to make sure that they have proper knowledge of what they have received at home. And such a child, when he grows up, wherever he or she finds himself or herself, you can be sure that those tenets will manifest. But unfortunately, the home's values has collapsed. And therefore, for the remedy now is that I will go back to our curriculum. It should be designed in a way that it will take care of the home. In Finland, which have the best education in the world, the government pay the parents specially to train their children about the value of the country. They pay them. As many parents that register their child in the school will be paid, just to make sure that the children are well trained first at home before they enter the school.
In next sense, we should go back to the basics.
We should
the
go back to the
foundation
basics.
matters.
That is one.
All right.
2, the use of technology.
Okay.
Even though it is not absolutely perfect, but yet it will go a long way in checkmating all manner of sharp practices from one sector to the other.
We agree.
And many other solutions. And then the issue of enforcement of rules, laws, and regulations. Enforcement of these rules and regulations.
Not just making the policies, but ensuring that being
We'll get
implemented.
us to the place we're going.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We want to appreciate our guests for being on the show today. The topic has been well trashed out, as we say in this side of our discourse. So that's our show for today. We want to thank our guest once again, though he's not here, for being part of the show this morning. We do hope that you were actually educated and informed by all that was said today on corruption. Again, Go Start Business that was brought to you on the show today is a good way for you to start wherever you are from home. Make sure you are financially buoyant in seasons like this. Ezekiel.
Yes. Someone was asking me just recently if I was into any other business, and suddenly I was like, no. And the person was like, so mute, and I felt, there are certain silence that come with so much words. So for me, I think it's more like an encouragement, to really please my hands on things and get things working for me.
So you'll be seeing more of that on the new Daybreak Africa, where we try to empower our youth and those who are interested. So that's the show for today. I wish we could stay here till 12 o'clock. It's not possible, right?
No.
My name is Anire. Binitie. Stay positive.
You do have a great day ahead. I remain Ezekiel. Ogar.
Bye for now.